So very good evening, everyone. I hope you guys are prepared for or preparing yourselves for this final week towards our exam, which is next Tuesday, the 27th. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to see you all. And tonight we have our second taste, our second tasting of a white wine from our South African box. So it's a set of wine of 6 wines, 6 bottles of South African. Last week we have had a white wine again, and now we are having another white wine to compare to our previous tasting. And I hope you're able to compare and contrast both of them with regards to intensity of aromas, style and texture of acidity, flavors, flavor profile, and so on and so on. So it's very important for you to, after the tasting, be able to compare your tasting notes of our previous tasting. That's the only way for us to grow as a taster, as a professional. So as I mentioned, we have a second wine, which is a white wine. And I would like to start with you guys by asking what it looks like. Can anyone help me with appearance and perhaps the nose as well as?
Okay. Nobody? Okay.
No,
For
no.
me is a pale lemon. It's
Sure.
a typical color without any difference of the other one. Yeah, but I thought it is more rich. It's richer
Okay.
than the first one because the intensity I found it medium plus with aromas, mainly primary aromas of a lot of them. Green apple, lime, sunflower, honeysuckle, some herbal aromas, fennel grass, some spice, white cinnamon, white pepper, cinnamon. And this one also, I didn't know that before, that what is a salinity, but
Mhm.
this one also has that same style. You told me
Yeah.
this is salinity. It has the same kind of aroma. And also some cream, some butter. It looks like it had some malolactic.
Yeah, I think you have a very good perception of the wine. What was your the intensity of aromas? What did you?
But medium plus.
Medium plus. Okay. Anybody else can help me with regards to the perception of the nose, the appearance and nose?
Tiago,
Yes, Bruno.
just a question. Uh, for this wine, I thought that in comparison to the other one, I thought I thought that this wine is a little bit more restrained in in terms of aroma,
Mhm.
a little bit in comparison to the other one. But at the same time, um, I feel the aromas that was mentioned before were mentioned, and uh, I want to ask you about the this this buttery or salinity aromas. I feel kind of this, and when I tasted the wine, it was a little bit um, warm. So uh, the question is, uh, when you have this kind of wine, uh, they it's the salinity. It's something typical of Lees, or maybe yes, maybe no. I don't. What what do you
Mhm.
what can you tell me?
Um,
Or just Lees stirring, or there is difference between Lees stirring and sometime with Lees.
Yeah.
because I know this is serving more round, and you keep it, and when you are just leaving the wine with the lees, I think it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
There's not much texture, I think.
Yeah. When you leave the wine on lees, it adds some freshness to the wine, and keeps the freshness, as lees can
Mm-hmm.
consume oxygen, but it also adds a little bit of a nuttiness to the wine, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do lee stirring, then you're going towards batonnage. So batonnage is lee stirring. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There are several ways of doing it, but batonnage is lee stirring. But you were saying about salinity. Well, lees can add some salinity to the wine. But there are several wines that are close to the ocean that I have a clear saltiness to the wine.
Some Greek wines that I tasted
Yeah,
feel that way.
they have salinity. I tasted. I was very, very lucky to receive a gift from an importer from Recife. He's importing some Colares. It was a blend of Pinot
Polaris.
and Merlot, and it has a
Pinot with Merlot.
yes, and the wine was so delicate, so light, so fresh, and it had a beautiful salinity on the mid palate. No, not on the nose, but on the mid palate. But over here, I think it's more of least contact as opposed to salinity, I think. But how do you see the tasting? What can you describe with regards to the aroma of the wine? I mean, if you know, exam condition, what would you say? What's the color? You know,
Can
as
I
you were
say
talking
something
before.
about the aromas?
Yeah, sure.
I didn't taste the previous wine. So at first, maybe it was too cold. The only thing I could think of was passion fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Then after it warmed up a little, I found almost everything Ligia referred. But I found something that I used to think as minerality, but now I think it is what they call struck match.
Okay.
You know, and I found it a little here.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if it had something to do with the lease, the time with the lease, as Bruno said about salinity.
Well, struck match. It's one of the ways that reduction can be perceived into the wine. So if you say struck match, you're saying, well, there is a reduction here. But it's something that probably appeared for like the first 2 seconds and gone. You know, it's not that anymore. And that could be a result of the screw cap, the way that the screw cap was placed.
That's true, it's a screw cap. That's true.
So it depends.
Completely sealed.
Yeah, completely sealed. And if it's a wine that is like 2 years old, for example, and the tighter, it depends on the regulation of the screw cap, and the lack of oxygen, it could result a very light screw cap.
And it was very brief.
Yeah, so a very light stroke match to the wine. I didn't get it.
Okay.
Very, very cool, very cold. So I didn't get the stroke match to the wine.
Perfect.
Thiago,
Yes.
you asked about my notes about the wine.
Yeah.
So lemon pale.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the aromas are medium intensity. Some lemon, some green apple, melon, pear, green mango. I think it's a fruit. It's a grape that is not that aromatic.
Okay.
Some white flowers. I don't think that this wine was was made in a reductive way. I think a little bit of oxygen was going through the winemaking process.
Mm-hmm.
The wine for me it's dry.
Sure.
Medium acidity. I don't get it much acidity here. It's totally different from the other one.
Mm-hmm.
But that for me it's medium alcohol, medium body, flavor intensity.
Sure. And how about the finish?
Medium minus. I don't think so. Medium for me. Finish medium. Some creaminess, I think, from the lees stirring. Light dough. I feel some salinity on the mouth also. Acidity definitely makes the wine a little dull for me.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's a good quality, not suitable for bottle aging because there's not much finish, and mainly because of the finish and the acidity that for me it's lacking acidity here. But it shows that it is a warm climate, maybe just a little bit of cold influences, but I don't think it's much of that influence in the wine.
Any region? Would you guess any region within South Africa?
In South Africa, I don't remember the regions, but I think it's probably a warm one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's it for me because I didn't study much of South Africa, but I think it's a different one from the other one.
Okay. Anybody else would like to share your thoughts on the wine with regards to the palate and with regards to the quality?
Yes. And I tasted the other wine, but go ahead, you first, Helen.
Yes. White wine, lemon pale color, the nose intensity medium. I felt peach, grapefruit, grass, more lemon in nose, hint honey or something sweet honey, I don't know. In palate dry, acidity medium plus, alcohol medium, body medium, intensity medium plus, concentration medium plus, finish medium plus. In mouth, in palate, more hint grass, biscuit, lemon, acidity crisp, influence the leaf style, salinity. Yeah, little contact with leaves. I felt salinity. Enjoy now. For me, medium shelf, medium high, or 5-6 years suitable for aging. 5-6 years.
What's the finish of the wine for you?
Finish medium plus.
Finish medium plus.
Warm climate with influence altitude or ocean.
What's the fruit concentration on a palate? The intensity concentration.
Medium plus.
Medium plus. Okay.
Medium plus.
Fine. Okay. Thank you, Ellen. Jutz, would you like to comment?
Welcome.
Would you like to share your thoughts on the wine?
The mouth?
Yeah, the mouth. Yeah, that would be nice.
A dry wine, and I felt high acidity, medium plus to high acidity, medium alcohol, medium body, medium flavor intensity and medium minus finish.
Mm-hmm.
And aroma flavors profile a little more short than the nose, but I felt citrus and least influenced, like especially in texture. It's oily or something like some more fat wine,
Mm-hmm.
but no influence of oak at all. And for me, it's a good wine.
Okay. How much do you think it sells for? How much would you pay for it?
$12.
Okay.
Yeah, around that.
Where do you think this wine is going to be sold?
No, casual dining restaurant, maybe by glass. It's a refreshing wine. It's easy pleasing, easy to drink, and good supermarkets also.
Supermarkets as well.
Yet at the middle to high shelf.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else would like to comment on? Thank you very much, Jutz. Does anybody else would like to comment on the palette?
Yeah, my feeling is that it's almost the same as Ellen. That has a lot of aromas as medium plus acidity, but it's different from Bruno's one. I felt the wine richer, and I would say what I really felt easily was the salty taste, and also some spicy pepper, some white pepper, and there was passion fruit also, and also a lot of herbal green tastes like grass, dill. That it was almost the same as in the nose, but it's more intense in the palate.
And what do you think with regards to where is this wine going to be sold and for how much?
I agree, $12 and 12, not much more than that. And it's a very intense and very interesting wine. So it could go in a restaurant without any problem, or even in a store with not a, I forgot the name, the store, the fancy stores.
Okay. And with regards to grape variety, is there any grape variety that speaks to you guys?
It's a Chardonnay.
Chardonnay.
No.
I think Chenin Blanc.
Uh-huh. I went to Chenin Blanc.
Okay.
So
So
I have some doubts. Can I share them with you?
yes, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
love to hear it.
At first, I had some doubts whether it's really a dry wine,
Okay.
because I felt some sweetness in the palate. And since I found it's medium high acidity, I thought that maybe my perception was being biased by the fact that it has a lot of acidity. Then I found out that it is dry, but it has some sweetness to it. And I think it's because of the intensity of fruits in the palate. But what I am having some doubts with is because I noticed that everyone has a very different assessment about acidity, and mainly acidity and flavor intensity. I found the flavor intensity to be medium plus. I think it's very intense.
Okay.
And it has a medium finish, but the overall feeling that you have, it has a lot of fruits in the mouth. You have this creamy sensation. You do have some grass or some herbaceous flavors along, and even a slight bitterness in the end of it. But it's a very interesting wine, and I would say it's a good wine also with all the other assessments, I agree with. But my main doubt is about the assessment of acidity and intensity.
Okay, and what do you think about quality of this wine?
For me, very good.
Yes, I would go for very good because it has very good balance. It has very good length in the mouth. I think it's medium, but if we had like a medium plus, it stays longer in your mouth.
Mhm.
It does have intensity, and I think it's either a good wine on the upper scale, or a very good wine on the lower scale.
Okay.
You have some complexity to it.
Mhm. What kind of complexity do you get from the wine?
It does have different families of flavors and aromas.
Okay.
You have primary and secondary aromas.
Okay.
I don't think it's suitable for aging, but you have different families of aromas within the primary ones, and you have secondary ones, and it warmed up, but even in a warmer temperature, it holds its qualities. It does. So I think it's a very good wine.
Okay. And
For its purpose.
What do you think about grape variety? What do you think it is?
I wouldn't guess because I'm not that familiar with Chenin, but well, everybody thought about Chardonnay, but I think this herbaceous, it really puzzles me, because it's not the kind of herbaceous character I would associate with Chardonnay. So I wouldn't guess.
Those who said Chardonnay, why is it Chardonnay?
Because of the fruit, the apple, and also the peach, and has the acidity. Looks like a wine from a higher altitude or cooler place. And also there are some Chardonnays with some grass, some herbal taste. That's not uncommon.
Okay.
But it has also some citrus, lime. So it looks like, for me, it doesn't look like a Chenin Blanc, because Chenin Blanc, I would expect more peach, more heavier fruits.
Okay.
It has also some passion fruit.
Okay. And Jutes, you mentioned Chenin Blanc. So why do you think it's Chenin, you and Alain?
Because the acidity, it's medium plus to high acidity. Chenin Blanc usually goes to skin contact and liaison and has this character. And the stone fruit, it's typical also, I think, of Chenin Blanc.
Okay.
For me, it's clear that is peach. And the texture of Chenin Blanc that goes on leaves is why I choose Chenin Blanc.
Okay. Alain, what's your arguments for Chenin Blanc?
I felt a hint of honey, a sweet, more peach than other fruit. And I think this warm climate, but influence ocean or altitude, in contact with leaves, salinity. I think it's more Chenin Blanc than Sauvignon Blanc, and no Chardonnay, because I think this intensity, aromas, medium plus. I felt acidity medium plus in Chenin Blanc. A grape has have characteristic the high acidity. In this case, I felt acidity medium plus, no medium.
Okay.
Thiago,
Yes, Bruno.
just to add something to the discussion. For me, the thing about not being Chenin Blanc, I think the profile of a Chenin Blanc from a place like South Africa, it can be logical, but for me, it lacks acidity. It bothers me. I don't get the acidity. I saw a lot of people saying that the wine it has medium plus to high acidity, but unfortunately I don't get it. I think it's more to the Chardonnay side. It lacks for me, but I do think that it could be Chenin Blanc. There's a lot of, for me, green fruit, then yellow fruit. Maybe it can be, but I don't know. Let's see.
Let's see. Okay, thanks. Well, I think with regards to the overall tasting, so for me it's pale lemon with regards to color, and the intensity. The first intensity for me was like a medium plus. I wrote it down medium plus, but going back to the wine now that it's slightly cooler, that's slightly warmer, I think the intensity is actually medium. I don't think it's an aromatic wine. But what I can get, it's a very, at the beginning, was a very precise family of stone and tropical aromas. So all primary aromas within this stone fruit and a tropical fruit. So I get this sort of a peach, this hint of I don't go for mangoes, but I go for pineapples. So green pineapples can be quite lemony as well as, you know. So I had this very stone fruit, very peachy aromas at the very beginning. There was a hint of floral to it. And for me, it was very high tune with regards to the intensity of those aromas. Going back to the wine right now, I'm like, it wasn't medium plus. It's more actually medium aromas and aroma intensity to the wine. So we can talk about peach, we can talk about nectarine, we can talk about perhaps a hint of honeysuckle, something sweet. So going for honey, it's fine. But perhaps blossom, you know, orange blossom, or honey blossom. It's more a common descriptor as opposed to honey, because honey usually leads to sweet wine.
Thiago, what can you say it's honey bloom?
Honey blossom?
In Portuguese. Honey blossom.
I don't know. I need to go after translation, but I don't remember the name of the flower.
But it's a flower.
Yeah, that's yeah.
It would be correct to just say I think it's blossom.
Yeah, honey blossom. Yeah, orange blossom. Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, it was more of stone fruit, a little bit of red apples, perhaps, but I wouldn't go to citrus, to the nose. So the nose is different from the palate. Okay. And then by tasting the wine, for me, it's dry, medium body, or perhaps a little bit of medium plus body. You know, medium to medium plus. I was on medium plus at the very beginning, and medium alcohol. So the acidity for me is medium plus. I wouldn't go for high, but hey, you know, there's a very good connection that we need to make to this wine. Okay. The intensity of flavor for me, it's like a medium. There are not much layers here. And I think it's a short wine. There's a short finish to the wine. I don't think it's long.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a huge concentration here. But what I get is a very perceptive flavors of citrus, lemon skin, you know, lemon, lemony, lemon skin, and again a little bit of pears and apples to the palate. So that stone fruit, that tropicanus that I got on the nose is not on the palate. Then what I get a really hard edge to the acidity. Taste the wine again, and there's a hard edge to the acidity, making the wine really hard, the acidity really hard. There's a soft texture to the body, but this hard edge to the acidity, something really, really square that really bothers me, which is typical of the variety or how this wine has been handled. There's a hint of lees to the palate, so perhaps the softness could come from the lees or could come from residual sugar. I do get a little bit of sugar to the wine, but not sweet. I mean, if I was to bet, I would say like 5 grams per liter of residual sugar. That's where I would be. So it's not bone dry, but it's more of a 5 grams of residual sugar. That's where I am. And I think that just...
Thiago, can I interrupt just a second? You said hard edge to the acidity.
Yeah, to the acidity,
yeah. Yeah. Now my wine is a little bit colder, and I felt the sensation of a little fizziness. But at the same time, it's not refreshing. The wine bothers me about the acidity. I really don't know how to describe. I don't know if it is the hard edge of the acidity. I don't know, but something lacking. It's lacking. I don't know.
So for me, it has this hard edge to the wine, to the acidity that, you know, bothers all my gums. And, you know, there's a hint of lees to the wine, to the palate. So a little bit of nuttiness, toastiness, that I know is coming from the lees contact. And then remember that I mentioned the flavors. I did mention the citrus, and I did mention the citrus zest, like a skin, lemon skin, which again is part of this hard edge that the wine has. So it does have a soft texture, perhaps, that makes the wine not as astringent, which I think is more from the residual sugar than anything else. And I think that the lees is there just to give a little bit of extra flavor to the wine. But for me, the wine is rather short, you know, medium minus, but rather short than medium plus. I don't think it's a very layered wine and complex wine. I think the aromas has gone. And I think that the flavors is more of hard, more of a extraction than anything else. So I think it's a more of a simple wine, daily wine, beautiful made, but, you know, simple wine, acceptable, as opposed to very good. And then there is something that we need to address here. We understand there's a wine that is coming from a moderated climate. So thinking of a moderated climate and thinking of stone fruit and tropical fruit, think of Chardonnay. If you have stone fruit and tropical fruit from a warm climate or moderated to warm climate, the acidity should be lower. So the acidity that we have here is from the grape variety that is able to hold high acidity, medium plus, even though having stone fruit and tropical fruit. So think what sort of grape variety can have this sort of, can handle heat, because we can taste the flavors, we can understand the aromas. It's not very restrained, it's not citrusy, it's not floral. It's more, you have all mentioned that it's a rich wine. It does feel rich on a palate. The perception of flavor, it does feel rich. again, I think it's medium plus body because it does feels rich. And when you are on warm to moderated climate or moderated to warm climate, it's easy for you to have intensity of flavors. When you are on a cool climate, it's difficult to have intensity of flavors. Therefore, when you are in a cool climate, having flavors, having concentration, it's a huge bonus, huge bonus. But when you are in a warm to moderated climate, you know, it's simple to have flavors, but it's difficult to have freshness or to keep up with freshness. Sometimes it's difficult to have different layers, because in order for you to have layers of flavors, you need to have a cooler site, you need to have a long ripening period in order to concentrate flavors. So the way that you think and you consider for a warm to moderated climate is different when you are considering a cooler climate. Does it make sense? So it's rather simple and easy to ripe grapes on this moderated climate. Not that easy to hold onto acidity, but hey, depending on the grape variety, you know, it's easy for you to do that. And what I have noticed with all of you guys that are on diploma, you are struggling to realize when a wine is it's simple, acceptable, high production wine as opposed to premium wine. You are struggling, and you need to taste wines like a same grape variety, premium, super premium, cheap, but very good. Like a cheap supermarket, but well made. You guys are struggling to put them apart, to tell them the difference. We really need to focus on that. You know, buy a super premium Chardonnay from Burgundy like a Meursault and put it side by side by a cheap entry level Chilean Chardonnay, like, you know, just to compare them. So you are able to go and say, you know, they both have like a tropical fruit. Perhaps if it's a good simple Chardonnay from Chile, like a De Martino, you should still go on and say, you know, high acidity or medium plus acidity and complex and so on. But Jesus, premium, super premium, this is simple. This is good but simple, not super premium. You guys are struggling to tell them apart. And that's something that at a diploma level, you must be able, not you need, you must be able to tell them apart on the exam condition. You must be able to say, this is an outstanding wine. This is not an outstanding wine. This is not a very good wine. This is a simple. This is an acceptable quality. Let's review the wine. Let's talk about the grape variety. Yeah, shall we? Let me remove my label. This is super wet. So we have a Chenin Blanc from Paul, which is actually the same region that we were tasting the Sauvignon Blanc last week. Paul is very close to and same influence as Franschhoek, that we had the Sauvignon Blanc last week. This is a 2019 wine, really super fresh wine. Recently bottled, so which is good. But hey, those of you who said, you know, drink now, not suitable for further aging, yeah, I totally agree with you. Drink now, not suitable for further aging.
But it's gonna hold.
Yeah, well, let's see. Is it
A little bit?
Wine?
2 years.
It's a state wine,
2 years.
and they call it family wine, so it's perhaps below the state wine. It's retail for like a 69, 75 reais maximum. So it's a wine that should be widely available in supermarkets.
Simple.
Not in Brazil, but should be widely available in supermarkets. Yeah, those of you who said, yeah, it's a wine that should be sold by the glass. Yeah, it's a wine to sell by the glass because, you know, you should be able to sell it in a very affordable affordable price. So easy to sell a bottle within the night or within the day. Or you may sell it by the bottle, but entry-level simple wine at the restaurant. But it's the sort of quality and consistency that should also be sold at supermarket. You should also see this level of quality on many supermarkets. Chenin Blanc. Well, I think it has this sort of tropicalness to the wine, this sort of red apples and peach that is typical to Chenin Blanc. We can feel that the wine is warm. I mean, it's coming from a moderated to warm climate. We can feel it. Perhaps these hard edges tell us it's coming from a more moderated to warm climate. But it can still hold up to the acidity. It's typical to Chenin Blanc. Chenin Blanc can do that. And in South Africa, we can find several styles of Chenin Blanc. So we can find it sparkling. We can find in a simple way, refreshing way, as we are tasting now. We can find it in a more structured, more concentrated styles with 6 to 24 months of French oak barrels. So we will add a lot more complexity and nuttiness to the wine. So that's quite common and quite premium to South Africa, this style. And we can also find like semi-sweet or even sweet wines, noble rot wines, or late harvest wines. So we can find all of those styles within South Africa. It's common. It's also common to see Chenin Blanc as an ingredient for blended wines, perhaps with Sauvignon Blanc, and perhaps with Chardonnay or even other varieties. So they can make a sort of a lighter, intense style wines. So we will find this variety in several ways. But we must be able to understand what is a simple wine as opposed to a very good wine. And Chenin Blanc can be quite premium. There are quite premium wines being produced there. Super premium prices, quite expensive. Again, with intensity of flavors, with layers, with still well-balanced acidity and well-balanced alcohol levels. So that's another premium style that we can see in South Africa. If you have the ability, the means, you find those wines available, try them, buy them, and put them apart, put them side by side to a simple, acceptable wine like this. So you are able to say, why do I think this is premium? Why do I think this is more simple, humble wine? You know what I mean? It's important for you to have those descriptors, not just descriptors, but arguments to tell the examiner, why do I think this is simple? If I was to say, why do I think this is a moderated climate, for example, I would say the moderated alcohol, 13 and a half. I don't know the alcohol, 13 and a half. So I would say, there's a moderated 13 and a half alcohol level and a medium plus body. That tells me it's a moderated climate. Also, the short finish, high volume, high production tells me is a moderated climate. Why do I think is a humble, acceptable wine? I think it's a short finish, therefore high volume. Also, why do I think it's acceptable? This hard edge from the acidity, the zesty citrus, zesty flavors that I get on a palate, on the back palate, tells me it's more of a high volume production, therefore acceptable wine. Right now, after tasting the wine, I would go and say, this undefinition of aromas, because I don't think that the wine is bright anymore. I think that the aromas has gone. I mean, the definition of aromas has gone. So After 10 minutes, all the bouquet, all the definition of aromas has gone, therefore acceptable wine. So you have to be able to build your arguments or to have key points from the tasting notes that you are able to link to the quality of the wine, because that's what the examiner is expecting from you. So if you are under examining condition, I would say to you, my strategy, if I were you, I would go and taste and smell the 6 wines and smell them all. And then I would go on and say, you know, those are the light wines. That's a more oak aged or sweet wines, so I'm gonna taste them later. Let me taste the simple wines first, or the aromatic wines, and taste them first, and do my tasting notes. And then I'll be tasting the more oak aged and the more complex wines, and do my tasting notes. You know, do the exam. And then before I go into quality, I'll taste again the simple wines or the aromatic wines and see how, not just taste, but go into the aromatics and say, you know, has it changed? Has it improved? You know what I mean? So it's important for you to understand how the wine changes, if it changes. Sometimes it doesn't change. So sometimes you see the alcohol level, it's moderated alcohol level, but after tasting 10 minutes later or half an hour later, there is still balance between acidity, between alcohol. And I think that we are perceiving the wine more friendly because of the residual sugar, which mask the hard edges that I can taste to the wine. So for those of you who has said Chenin Blanc, congratulations. But you need to have a better argument. Why is Chenin? Why? What makes it Chenin Blanc? For those of you who has said medium plus acidity too high, for those of you who realized that the wine was like you said medium plus intensity, you know, very good intensity of aromas at the very beginning, a good punch, very good. You know, it's good that you have noticed that. For those of you who realize the quality, congratulations. If you have understood that the wine had contact release, congratulations. But think, why a winemaker would let this wine onto the lees? Because they probably wanted to add some flavors and aromas and texture to the wine, to make a wine more less simple, you know, more complex. Because if they had used brand new oak, the wine would disappear. So depending on the quality of the grapes, the quality of the wine, you're gonna add different elements, different treatments for a better, a more, how can I say, a more complexity, to add extra complexity to the wine, extra layers to the wine. You know what I mean? So it is not a simple wine with regards to wine tasting. You know, you can easily go onto a different way and going very good. It's not an easy wine, but you know, it's a wine that has, that you need to think about it. So some wines can be quite tricky, and simple wines can be quite tricky. You know, I remember we have tasted a simple wine from Australia. The first wine that we tasted from the previous box. Many of you said, oh, this is a great wine, outstanding wine. We need to be able to tell them apart. What's simple, what's very, 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 very good. Okay? So again, we have a difficult wine here, and we are here to improve. We are here to taste more and more and more and more wines.
Yeah.
And to refine our palate and to understand what are the key things that we need to observe to say it's a simple wine, to observe and say this is a premium wine. Okay? So for me, the short finish, the lack of aromas right now, the flavor intensity, and so on, they're all elements these are all elements that we need to be aware of. Okay. So thank you all for participating tonight. I hope you're able to go back on your studies in order to succeed next week. I'm cheering for you guys, and I hope that in 12 weeks, 15 weeks, we're going to have a very good, excellent results from each of you. So looking forward to see you next week and to share a glass of wine with you all. Okay. So we are not having a tasting week, next week. We're not tasting next week. So I know that some of you are not, won't be having your wine, but we will be sharing a glass of wine next week. Okay. So thank you all for attending tonight. And I'm pleased to be here with you, sharing this wine. Okay. Thank you all, and I see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for tonight.
See you next week.
See you next week in São Paulo. Yes.